Prologue. A serpent gifted with the memories of her species recalls being captured and imprisoned by abominations before reaching the sea. Her captors exploited her memories to make false prophecies. Eventually, a human, Wintrow Vestrit, frees her, and she kills her captors. Following a strange ship that smells like her own kind, she encounters another serpent, who reacts erratically. She shares her memories with him, hoping to awaken his true self, but he flees, devastated. She pursues him, but he vanishes, leaving her isolated and desperate to restore her kind. In Chapter 1, Malta struggles to reach Trehaug on a small boat while dealing with an unhelpful satrap Cosgo and a strong river current. Upon arrival, she finds Trehaug deserted, and as the current pulls them further downstream, she fears for their safety. Meanwhile, Kefria anxiously digs through a collapsed corridor, searching for Malta and Selden, while her hope wavers. News arrives of a silver-blue dragon sighting, stirring hope and concern. Elsewhere, Rain and Selden, trapped in the crumbling crowned rooster chamber, witness the dragon's escape. Determined to survive, they attempt to build a makeshift raft as the chamber fills with muck. In Chapter 2, Ronica confronts Bingtown's leaders, accusing them of unjustly killing David Restart and misjudging his role in the satrap's kidnapping. She challenges them to investigate who may have manipulated David, hinting at deeper conspiracies. Roed Kern dismisses Ronica's concerns, prioritizing aggressive actions to defend Bingtown over council proceedings. Meanwhile, Cyrilla seizes this tension to consolidate her power, proposing herself as a mediator to bridge divides between the old and new traders. Gaining the traders' trust, she plans to unite Bingtown under her influence. As the chapter closes, Cyrilla subtly summons Roed for a private meeting, intent on furthering her control. In Chapter 3, Vivacia sails west with Kennit's crew, haunted by her connection to the injured Wintrow. Kennit shares her concern, believing Wintrow is crucial to his fate, yet a growing distance forms between them. Etta, who cares for Wintrow, fears his death's impact on Kennit. In a near-death state, Wintrow encounters a dragon spirit within Vivacia, revealing her dark, ancient essence, threatening their bond. Meanwhile, a serpent named She Who Remembers senses Vivacia's presence but cannot fully connect, feeling hints of distant voices. The serpent is desperate for contact, fearing madness in her isolation. In Chapter 4, Tintalia, the dragon, rescues Rain and the boy Selden from a sinking mud chamber and brings them back to Trehaug. There, Tintalia reveals that Malta is alive, floating downriver. Rain begs the dragon to save her, and she agrees to search but warns that rescuing her could be dangerous. After finding Malta in a boat with the satrap, Tintalia explains that retrieving her would endanger them all. She takes Rain back to Trehaug, where he urges the crew to prepare the Kendry to sail in pursuit of Malta before it's too late. In Chapter 5, Althea comforts Clef after a beating from Lavoy, advising him to stay cautious. She reflects on their mission to reclaim Vivacia from the pirate Kennit, while tensions aboard the ship rise. Paragon, the live ship, expresses a focused resolve to confront Kennit. Amber reveals she is ill, but assures Althea it's not contagious. Althea also discusses Lavoy's increasing power and discipline, particularly how he unfairly targets crew members like Lop. Brashen and Althea discuss the possibility of pretending to be pirates to infiltrate the Pirate Isles and get close to Kennit despite its risks. In Chapter 6, Cyrilla faces political challenges in Bingtown as Ronica Vestrit rallies against her. News of the satrap's potential death creates further uncertainty. During a Traders' Council meeting, Cyrilla struggles to maintain control as Bingtown begins to reorganize. Grag Tanira raises concerns about the inheritance of Trader Restart's estate, which Cyrilla cannot dismiss, further undermining her authority. The Council appoints a panel to investigate the estate, diminishing Cyrilla's influence. After the meeting, Ronica, disturbed by her growing pity for Cyrilla, is approached by Grag, who expresses interest in investigating David's death and offers her a ride home. In Chapter 7, Wintrow confronts the truth that Vivacia is not alive but a ship crafted from dragon remains, with the dragon's essence trapped within. Kennit, sensing Vivacia's death, pushes Wintrow for answers but remains determined to revive the ship. As Kennit interacts with Vivacia's figurehead, he challenges her, proposing they pirate together. The figurehead, intrigued but cautious, agrees to Kennit's offer, though on her terms. Meanwhile, Kennit questions his good luck charm's nature and whether it hides a dragon's essence. Elsewhere, a mysterious voice calls to the ship, hinting at a greater connection to its past. In Chapter 8, Tintalia flies upriver after hunting a bear, searching for her kin. She finds the abandoned city of Kilsingra, a once thriving elderling settlement now overtaken by nature. Meanwhile, Malta and the satrap endure thirst as they drift downriver. Malta recalls seeing a dragon, but others dismiss it. A Chalcidian war galley appears, and the satrap, mistaking it for a rescue, is taken aboard. Malta feels trapped as the satrap commands her to serve him. She reflects on her situation, realizing her past is gone, and reluctantly decides to survive by doing what is necessary. In Chapter 9, Althea contemplates her feelings for Brashen while managing the crew's training. After an ambush by pirates, Althea leads the defense, but Brashen struggles with an unprepared crew. They capture a pirate, who reveals disturbing truths about Vivacia's past under Kennit's control. Paragon kills the pirate, causing tension between the crew and Althea. She demands to know where Kennit is, and the pirate's final words point to Bingtown. Paragon, now isolated by Brashen, is conflicted and defensive about his violent actions. The crew faces deep divisions, and Brashen grapples with the responsibility of command. In Chapter 10, Ronica overhears a conversation revealing the satrap's escape and the political scheming to reclaim power. Roed proposes marrying Cyrilla to consolidate control, but she rejects him. Realizing her granddaughter Malta may be involved, Ronica decides to flee with Rach. They seek refuge with the Three Ships folk, where Ronica reflects on her plight. She writes a letter to Grag Tanira informing him of the satrap's disappearance, Malta's possible betrayal, and the looming threat of war. Meanwhile, Cyrilla faces Roed's violent plans. Eka agrees to carry the letter, and Ronica fears the consequences of the unfolding events. In Chapter 11, Bodies and Souls, Wintrow endures the aftermath of his transformation, feeling both physically scarred and spiritually distant from Vivacia, now embodied by Bolt. Bolt offers to heal him, but Wintrow refuses. Kennit, with Bolt's guidance, attempts to heal Wintrow, whose body is consumed in a painful process that seems to drain his life. Despite the agony, Kennit takes pride in the act, sensing his growing power. Meanwhile, Bolt sings on deck, stirring Kennit and the crew with an otherworldly song. Malkin and Shriver discover a sunken city, and Malkin resolves to find guidance to return home. In Chapter 12, Alliances, Brashen struggles with leadership and his rift with Althea, especially when he overrides her decisions regarding the former slaves in the ship Paragon. Althea, still grieving Vivacia and Kennit's refusal of a ransom, grows frustrated with Brashen's actions. Meanwhile, Brashen admits his feelings for Althea, breaking the tension between them. Their emotional connection deepens as they share a passionate moment, though Brashen stops short of fully acting on it, overwhelmed by his feelings. Paragon, witnessing the complexity of human interactions, grapples with his confusion over the emotional dynamics between Brashen and Althea. In Chapter 13, Surviving, Kafria and Selden arrive in Bingtown, witnessing devastation from sunken ships and destroyed buildings. Kafria is worried about Malta, and the two are offered shelter by Grag Tanira. Rain confesses the tragic events, including the dragon encounter. Tensions rise in Bingtown as rumors swirl about the satrap's death and political instability. Kafria faces pressure to take a side in the divided council, where debates over political power and breaking free from Jamalia intensify. Amidst the crisis, Kafria suggests forming an alliance with the new traders to unite Bingtown against external threats. In Chapter 14, Brashen and Althea arrive in Bingtown, where tensions rise and Brashen proposes to Althea. They hear rumors about Kennit's cruel past and his connection to Wintrow, leaving Althea determined to reclaim Vivacia. As they prepare to leave, Paragon goes mad, and the crew scrambles to get back to the ship. On board, Lavoy attacks Brashen, stabbing him in the back before deserting the crew with others. Althea orders the ship to leave, and despite Paragon's chaos, they manage to sail out of Bingtown. The chapter ends with Brashen injured but focused on the mission. In Chapter 15, Carrion continues to taunt the serpents, and Malkin restrains his anger. The tangle is drawn to She Who Remembers, who begins to awaken their collective memories, though a deceptive second voice also calls to them. Malkin decides to proceed cautiously, and Carrion joins them. Meanwhile, Wintrow struggles with his sense of purpose. Etta encourages him to rediscover his path, suggesting he embrace his priesthood again. Wintrow reflects on his resistance to his life's changes. As Wintrow faces Vivacia, he acknowledges their bond and urges her to accept all parts of herself despite her defiance. In Chapter 16, Rain wakes from a nightmare and reflects on Bingtown's dire situation under Chalcedonian control. He plans a resistance with fire and sabotage while Selden insists on joining. Tintaglia arrives in Bingtown enraged by human disrespect and begins attacking Chalcedonian ships. As she wreaks havoc, a boy, Selden, praises her, catching her attention. Tintaglia lands and Rain confronts her. She demands Rain's help for a task, but he refuses, blaming her for Malta's death. The Chalcedonians regroup to attack Tintaglia, but she easily destroys them. Grag and Selden offer their service to Tintaglia, who promises her help in exchange for their loyalty. In Chapter 17, the Bingtown traders convene to discuss Tintaglia's demands. Tintaglia insists on dredging the Rain Wild River, with the Rain Wilders managing the task. Tensions rise as Kefria confronts Tintaglia about Malta, and Rain accuses her of manipulation. Tintaglia confirms Malta's survival, sparking mixed emotions. Rain proposes a pact. He will help find other dragons if Tintaglia aids in locating Malta. Tintaglia agrees, and Devashay suggests formalizing all agreements with written commitments from each trader family, restoring old Bingtown customs. Tintaglia reluctantly agrees to the plan, setting terms for the river project and the renewed Bingtown Council. In Chapter 18, Kennit learns from Sincure Falden that Brashen and Althea were recently in Divvytown aboard Paragon, potentially to reclaim Vivacia. Concerned but outwardly calm, Kennit contemplates Althea's connection to Vivacia. Meanwhile, Malta endures confinement with the satrap aboard a Chalcedonian vessel, and frustrated by their treatment, takes decisive action. She confronts the captain, asserting their dignity and securing improved accommodations. On Vivacia, Wintrow confronts Bolt, urging her to remember her bond with Althea. Kennit reassures Wintrow of his intentions while grappling with his own fears about an inevitable confrontation with Paragon and its memories. In Chapter 19, Althea, now first mate, discusses her dilemma with Brashen, who suggests abandoning their mission, but Althea refuses to leave *Vivacia*. They consider approaching Kennit under a truce flag. Meanwhile, in Bingtown, Saria challenges Mingsley, asserting Bingtown's original charter and positioning the new traders alongside the three ships' families. Rain, reflecting on Liveship's transformations, observes Kendry's return and realizes Tintaglia has revealed the ship's true nature. Selden warns Rain that Tintaglia prioritizes her kind over Malta, urging him to assert human interests. Amidst Bingtown's rebuilding, Selden accepts his Rain Wilder transformation, drawing strength from Rain's guidance. In Chapter 20, Rain departs on Tintaglia's back to find Malta, with Selden gifting him Malta's honey drops. Tintaglia flies over the ocean as Rain attempts to connect with Malta mentally. In a dream, Malta reveals she's on a Chalcedonian ship headed for Jamalia. Meanwhile, Malta faces the satrap's arrogance and struggles aboard the ship. When pirates attack, Malta tries to help the satrap, but they are captured. The pirate captain Red mocks the satrap while Malta stands firm, asserting her identity. The captain plans to ransom the satrap, but decides to keep Malta as a prize. In Chapter 21, Althea sees Vivacia nearing Divvytown, confirming Brashen's prediction. Tensions rise as Kennit plans to deceive Althea, while Wintrow faces conflicting loyalties. As serpents approach Paragon, Brashen prepares for battle, but Paragon unexpectedly calms them. The conflict between Brashen's crew and Kennit's pirates ensues, with Brashen's crew overwhelmed and Brashen surrendering. Kennit claims victory but remains detached. Later, he sets Paragon ablaze, reflecting on his past with the ship. Paragon, resigned to his fate, contemplates death while Kennit prepares to leave, encountering a woman resembling Wintrow in the sea, ordering her rescue before sailing. In Chapter 22, Wintrow grapples with his doubts about Kennit's intentions. Edda reveals she's pregnant with Kennit's child, deeply affecting him. On Paragon, the ship reflects on its past, and Brashen struggles to save it from destruction, while Amber contemplates a plan to save everyone. Kennit, frustrated, tells Wintrow and Edda they must stay away from Althea, who is aboard after a battle. Kennit explains the stakes of his decisions and the loss of a valuable prize. Despite his harsh words, Wintrow agrees to follow Kennit's wishes. Kennit plans to reach Divvytown, unsure of what to do with Wintrow. In Chapter 23, Rain wakes up in Tintaglia's claws as they fly over the Pirate Isles. After a rough landing, Tintaglia, hungry, asks Rain to hunt for her. He kills a sea bullock, and Tintaglia finishes it off. They discuss lifespans, with Tintaglia suggesting that their bond might extend Rain's life. Rain reflects on his future with Malta, filled with regret. Meanwhile, Malta deals with Cosgo's self-pity. She argues with him before heading to Captain Red's table. Red plans to ransom Cosgo, but suggests Malta help persuade him. She uses the leverage of Cosgo's nobles to secure his cooperation. In Chapter 24, Keffria decides to send Selden to Trehaug despite her mother's objections, believing it is the best for him to be fostered with the Kupris family. Johnny Kupris arrives with a proposal, and Selden agrees to go. The discussion turns to the future, with Keffria expressing her frustration with Bingtown's political situation. Johnny suggests Keffria could represent the Rain Wilds on the Bingtown Council, and offer Selden supports. As the conversation continues, plans are made for Selden's departure, and Keffria agrees to the arrangement, knowing it is for the good of their family and their connection to the Rain Wilds. In Chapter 25, the crew continues to repair Paragon, still stranded on the beach. Paragon struggles with guilt over his loyalty to Kennit, while Amber reveals she feels a task ahead. Paragon explains his dual nature as a live ship and dragon. Amber learns Althea is alive and captured by Kennit, giving the crew hope to rescue her. Despite doubts, Brashen suggests they may need to fight, but Paragon insists Kennit will never ransom Althea. Paragon reveals Kennit will keep her hidden in a safe place, and agrees to help the crew find her, promising to sail on the next tide. In Chapter 26, Kennit informs Althea that the Paragon has sunk and Captain Trell is dead, leaving her devastated. Althea, struggling with dizziness from a drug, becomes emotionally vulnerable, and Kennit manipulates her. He uses her distress to his advantage, leading to a traumatic encounter that leaves her physically and emotionally shattered. As Althea's body fights the poison, she connects with Vivacia, who shares her desire to die. However, Althea ultimately rejects death, refusing to let Vivacia perish with her. Her survival is a struggle, but she regains consciousness, feeling the painful yet vital sensation of life. In Chapter 27, Brashen and his crew reach Keyhole Island to find Kennit's mother. Tensions rise as they encounter locals, including Sayla and a young woman, Ankle. After some negotiation, Kennit's mother agrees to accompany them. However, she brings a chained man along, causing confusion among the crew. Brashen navigates the delicate exchange, while Amber offers trade goods to ease the process. On board the ship, Kennit's mother reveals 3 old logs from the Paragon, confirming the ship's deep connection to her. The prisoner, Kyle Haven, pleads to return home, leaving Brashen uncertain about the future. In Chapter 28, Rain struggles with the physical toll of traveling on Tintaglia's back, reflecting on Malta's captivity. Tintaglia remarks on his growing connection to her, hinting at his transformation into an elderling. Meanwhile, Malta faces unwanted advances from Captain Red and the satrap aboard the satrap's ship. She plans to use the satrap's potential value to secure her and Cosgo's freedom. Malta proposes a wager to the satrap. If she saves him, he must grant her family power in Bingtown and the Rain Wilds. The satrap reluctantly agrees, and Malta begins to formulate her plan to free him. In Chapter 29, tensions escalate aboard the ship. Kennit visits Althea, who accuses him of rape, but Wintrow defends Kennit, leading to Althea's confinement. Althea, still traumatized, expresses her desire to kill Kennit. She reaches the foredeck, where she is confronted by Vivacia, who has changed and now holds different memories. Vivacia's reassurances do little to comfort Althea, who feels abandoned. Meanwhile, Wintrow struggles with his beliefs, torn between Kennit and Althea's accusations. Jack tries to offer support, but tensions between her, Wintrow, and Althea worsen as they navigate grief and mistrust. In Chapter 30, Amber finishes reconstructing Paragon's face with an earring and battle axe ornament. Brashen expresses concern for her safety. Paragon and Amber discuss identity and destiny, with plans to trade Kennit's mother for Althea's freedom. Malta negotiates on behalf of the satrap, securing a deal recognizing Kennit as king of the Pirate Isles and ending Chalcedean patrols. Meanwhile, Althea grapples with her anger and grief over her trauma, questioning Kennit's actions and her relationship with Vivacia. The chapter concludes with the sighting of the Vivacia and the Marietta, signaling an impending confrontation. In Chapter 31, Malta navigates tense negotiations with the satrap and Kennit, who uses her family ties as leverage. While Malta stays focused on her duty, she senses danger in Kennit, whom she also finds attractive. The satrap's resistance to Kennit's terms escalates, but Kennit insists on increasingly favorable conditions, including the right to pardon criminals and regulate trade. As the talks drag on, the satrap's frustration grows. Just as a breakthrough seems imminent, news arrives of a Gemalian fleet approaching. Kennit, confident, decides to use this to assert power, preparing for a potential confrontation. In Chapter 32, Malta senses the dragon Tintaglia's presence and urges Althea to reach the deck. She reveals Rain's arrival, and Althea supports her despite Malta's distress. Meanwhile, Kennit faces a crucial moment as the serpents stop their attack on the Gemalian fleet, distracted by Tintaglia's presence. The dragon circles, evoking despair in Vivacia. Etta, in a rowboat, spots a figure falling from the dragon, who lands near them. A man, transformed with copper eyes and scales, nearly drowns before being rescued. The man, barely conscious, mouths, "Thank you," before passing out. In Chapter 33, Kennit observes the unconscious Rain Cupress, who was dropped off by Tintaglia. Wintrow reveals Rain's betrothal to Malta, and Malta reacts with distaste. Kennit prepares for an imminent battle with the Gemalian fleet, sending a message to parley. Etta reveals she is pregnant with Kennit's child, complicating his emotions. Malta urges Kennit to treat the satrap respectfully, and a battle breaks out when the Gemalian ship arrives. The satrap is captured, and Malta tries to help. Kennit unexpectedly confronts the attackers, but the satrap is taken away. Meanwhile, Althea and the Vivacia crew mobilize to pursue Paragon, who is already charging toward the enemy ship. In Chapter 34, Brashen struggles with Paragon's obsession to rescue Kennit, while the ships approach a Gemalian vessel. Kennit, captured and gravely wounded, fights for survival as Paragon and Vivacia close in. Malta discovers Rain is alive, though injured, while Wintrow confidently commands Vivacia. A fierce battle ensues, with Althea and Jack aiding in the rescue of the satrap, while Kennit is fatally injured. Etta and Wintrow rush to save him, but despite their efforts, Kennit dies in Vivacia's arms, who then transfers him to Paragon. The two ships embrace, and Kennit is peacefully received by Paragon's family. In Chapter 35, Malta tends to the satrap's wound, while Rain and Malta observe his growing discomfort. Brashen and Clef consider their survival chances as Althea mourns Kennit's death. Wintrow orders the betrayer nobles to be used as shields, and Malta reflects bitterly on the cost of survival. Althea confronts Kyle Haven, whose anger and curses towards her reveal his physical and mental deterioration. Amidst the chaos, Wintrow takes command of Vivacia, using his wits to break through enemy lines. Paragon, in a fury, devastates a Gemalian ship, allowing Vivacia and the motley to escape, while Kyle is killed by arrows. In Chapter 36, Althea, Brashen, and the pirates navigate the aftermath of Kennit's death, with Wintrow assuming command. Wintrow announces plans to unite the pirate fleets and fulfill Kennit's treaty with the Gemalian satrap, while Etta learns she is pregnant with Kennit's child. Wintrow asks Althea to take Vivacia north to guide the serpents, though Brashen fears she is drifting away from him. The group learns of Chalcidian ships heading south, prompting Wintrow to make plans for the fleet's defense. Tintaglia's arrival signals a dire need for help, and the group prepares to assist the dragon, who is exhausted after an attack. In Chapter 37, Malta helps Rain start a fire and Tintaglia arrives, complaining but asserting control over the live ships. She stresses the need for cooperation between humans and dragons. Malta negotiates trade agreements with the Gemalian nobles. The group discusses Tintaglia's terms, while Althea reflects on her uncertain future with Brashen. Meanwhile, Brashen and Althea share a tense, emotionally charged moment as they navigate their complicated feelings. Etta, grieving Kennit's death, confides in Wintrow about her fear of raising Kennit's child alone. Later, Althea decides she will stay with Brashen, despite her loss of Vivacia. In Chapter 38, Malta prepares for a grand ball in Gemalia, reflecting on her luxurious life and alienation from it. Etta, mourning Kennit, is comforted by Malta and her mother as they prepare for the event. During the ball, Rain shares plans about stonecutters and future improvements to the Pirate Isle's locks. Malta and Rain discuss their upcoming wedding and future life together. Malta dances with Rain, their chemistry apparent, while Etta observes and Wintrow comments on their connection. Meanwhile, Ophelia and Vivacia discuss their lives as ships, sharing wisdom and memories as they prepare to leave for Divvytown. In Chapter 39, Kafria receives news from companion Cyrilla, who has been dismissed from the satrap's service after Bingtown's independence. The message reveals that the Vestrit family will represent the satrap's interest in Jamalia for a substantial fee. While Keffria is reluctant, she discusses the matter with her mother, ultimately deciding to accept Cirilla's proposal to help manage Jamalia's interest in Bingtown. Cirilla, now exiled, offers her expertise in exchange for a place to stay. Keffria agrees, offering Selden's room, but with conditions: a high tolerance for fish and a disregard for futility. In Chapter 40, Paragon navigates the rain-wild river with a small crew. Althea, Brashen, and Amber interact while transporting Igrot's treasure. Amber probes Paragon's memories about a carved wooden circlet, which brings up the deaths of Igrot's crew. Althea and Brashen share an emotional moment discussing their relationship. Later, Althea sleepwalks, and Brashen finds her, leading to a conversation about starting fresh. Amber and Paragon share a quiet moment as Paragon begins to feel hopeful. He agrees to Amber's plan to head north, realizing that helping others find the right path feels good. Epilogue. Shriva reflects on her journey as she rests in a cocoon, awaiting her transformation into a dragon. After many struggles, Tintalia's urging and the appearance of a young elderling had given Shriva the strength to continue through the Serpent River. She remembers the difficulties, including the cold weather and her struggles to form her cocoon. Despite losses, such as Teller and Silic, she is hopeful for the survival of herself and others. As she drifts into sleep, she dreams of summer and the return of dragons, envisioning a future with the lords of the three realms.